With the 30th anniversary of our democracy approaching, politics, politicians, and political parties are placed under the microscope. Their successes, failures are also placed under the microscope. In today's discussion, we look at how politics affects the youth in South Africa, and in the second part of our show, we look at Tintswalo, the infamous Tintswalo mentioned by our president, Cyril Ramaphosa, in his 2024 edition of the State of the Nation address.
Believe me, it's hard out there when you are coming from a low-class background. Let's say.
But I feel like the youth is sleeping. When it comes to politics, they're sleeping and they're taking it light because
Hello everyone, welcome to South African Conversation by DUT Journalism. I'm Enzokuhle Sabela, your host of the show, and I have Hlengiwe Happiness Mfeka. So today we'll be discussing youth politics and the infamous Tintswalo. I'll now hand over to my co-host.
History is the study of change and development in a society over time and space. And with me and Enzo today, we have our special guest. We have Usaluleko Ngalelo, who's a political activist, and we have a former EFFSC, you got that right, edu trainer, Undalo Kumete. Welcome, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Are you guys ready for this?
Always come to politics.
You're always ready.
Right, let's get into it. So young political activists have made significant contributions post-apartheid, and they've been quite vocal when it comes to elections. Now we look to 2024, where political activists are now big game players. So we've got Cyril Ramaphosa, who was part of the ANC Youth League, and Julius Malema, who is now one of the biggest game changers in politics in South Africa, who is now the commander-in-chief of the EFF, who was part of the ANC Youth League when he was still starting out in politics. So young people have a huge history in politics in South Africa, where they've got the youth of 76 who were quite brave and made huge changes in South Africa. ANC Youth League, Mkhonto Wesizwe, the heroic young people that we celebrate every day on June 16. So my question is to you both. What got you into politics and what draws you into youth politics in particular?
Am I not involved?
Of course you are. You can join in.
I said both to both of you and you didn't mention me.
To everyone on the floor.
All right, fine. So basically, the first time I just got drawn to politics, it's from 2016, where there was something that you may remember as Fees Must Fall. So that was the first time where I saw when after 1976 and 2016, that's why we say this is the only youth after 1996, after 1976, right, which became heroes when it comes to the democracy time. Yeah, so I can say that was the time where I was drawn to politics. I got to know what is happening about politics, especially student politics, because I'm part of it right now.
I have quite a few reasons.
Yes.
One of them is I feel like the name that I was given. So my name is not only Seluleko, it's Nkosazana Seluleko Nomzamo, and I was named after Winnie Nomzamo Madezana Mandela,
Oh,
right?
wow.
And I feel like in a way, my name does kind of who she is. Because I don't know what my great uncle said, but apparently I'm gonna be like her or something, like a fighter and stuff. And I feel like the character, the person that I am, similar to her. And also another thing, during COVID, I started politics started being a very big thing in the house, because I think we were voting in 2021. My parents were voting in 2021, yeah. And there was this whole conversation about politics, and as years go by, the things happening around me, because I grew up in middle class, my lifestyle started changing, going down, the pits a bit, and I always think that it's my parents, they're going broke or what, or they're not working hard. But I think after being exposed to so many political conversations around the house, I started realizing it's the political government that has us in control.
Exactly.
That's making so many things expensive, and it's affecting me as an individual who used to live my life, and now all of a sudden, I feel like I also have to work hard. So I have to work hard also to get that lifestyle back, So yeah.
Ndalo, you mentioned the 2016 thing that was going on. And I remember I was in grade 9 at that time, and I was so excited because I even told my grandfather, who is my former principal, by the way, from then high school. So I was like, we need to engage in this thing that is going on. So I opened a debate about the fees must fall, and I saw many of us were engaging. I think that platform I created, I think it's something that is more of what was needed, and I think the 2016 activism that the students were doing for Fees Must Fall, I think you touched on it, and I was like, oh yeah, we're really in this conversation, and yeah, it's a thing. And I remember in one of Steve Biko's motivations, he will say, "Black man, you own your own," and I think people were driven by that spirit of "Black man, you own your own." What do you think, Enzo?
I think black people have always been on their own, but nowadays it's more, they've got more power to be on their own, which means they've got more influence. So last week we attended a seminar by Moletsi Mfeka, a political commentator, and he spoke about what Cyril spoke about is the black middle class. So the black middle class in the world, they are the highest paid, earning around R1 million per year. So black people are on their own, but they've got more influence nowadays, which is a good thing, because 30 years ago you couldn't have said, "Oh, the black middle class is earning R1 million a month." You'd say, "Oh, a black person is just a cleaner." So it shows progress, and I hope that more young people can get involved in things like that. That we can be proud to say our black youth have made something great and build onto the legacy left by the youth of 76.
Yeah, what do you think, Dalo and Cyril?
And I feel like the youth is sleeping. When it comes to politics, they're sleeping and they're taking it light, because I feel like the people who have taken it seriously are people like me.
Impacted. that were impacted directly, because like your lifestyle changes drastically, and when you like look back, you're just like, damn, me, if I asked for something from dad, I'll get it, without my dad saying, no, it's not part of the budget this month, I'll get it for you next month, or I have to budget for it next month. These kids who are sleeping, they're cruising, they're having a good time because their parents have connections and all this. And this thing that comes, it brings my frustration out, because like the kids that don't care, the kids that I know that don't care have parents who work in these Omaspala and my mom is in the ANC, she does this. It's like, hey man, wait your child. We'd be like, my dear, do not be happy, keep quiet. You're frustrating me, bringing anger on me, because now I'm broke because of you and your mom and your dad probably stealing money, chowing it, And it's like,
Dala, what do you have to say about that?
I just wanted to emphasize on what you said. You spoke about black people who can make million. You said a month or a year. A year. And let me tell you something. When it comes to that thing, most of people who earns that much are living in privilege. You see, it's either they went to Model C type of schools. It's either they have maybe parents who are connected somewhere. Believe me, it's hard out there when you are coming from a low class background. Let's say you are coming from, we grew up in township. Though sometimes some of us went to private school, even though we grew up in township, but it's very hard to go out there as your own, like being serious. That's why I don't believe even in this thing of when they said we got what we call freedom. I said, no, we don't have, we can't say we get freedom, because freedom doesn't mean vote. Freedom means economy. You got economy of your own. You can make that million you are talking about on your own, not just being in, you have to know some certain people. You have to bribe some certain people in order to get a job that will pay you as much as you say.
you don't have access.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So my question is, do you think this whole tender system is failing, and do you think we should include something different or introduce something different?
Okay. I don't want to say about EFF because I'm part of EFF, but I'm
But
just
you're free to
yeah.
do that.
But
You're free, 'cause
because it's my organization, it's what I believe in. There is this EFF got 7 cardinal pillars. There is this cardinal pillar say abolishment to tender system, because we believe that government should build state capacity, should make sure that it's a government. That's what we got as black people. We got only the state. We don't have land. We don't have anything beside the state. They must build every businesses based on what? Based on state capacity. Make sure that all the business, like there's this thing. Let's say it's a minimum wage.
Yes.
Means that you are a cleaner. But every cleaner in every company must be paid starting from 5,000 to 6,000 to 8,000. That's a minimum wage. Means no one is going to be paid below that money. Yeah. Yes. How do you remove that? Remove tender system, because in tender system, I'm the one who decides that I'm going to pay you 1,500. Like simple as that. That's why I don't believe in tenderpreneurship.
I think we should move on to the next part, because if we carry on like this, we could go on for hours. We could go on for hours. So I think that's where we move on to the next segment of the show, which we'll be talking about Tintswalo, which is on a lot of people's lips at the moment because it was mentioned by our president in the State of the Nation address. Welcome back to the South African Conversation by DUT Journalism. In the first segment, we discussed youth and politics, and now we move on to the infamous Tintswalo. Now, in his SONA speech, President Cyril Ramaphosa mentioned a fictitious character called Tintswalo, who was born in 1994 and subscribed to all the policies that were introduced at the time. So she went to a no-fee school, her family lived on social grants, and Tintswalo ended up living a somewhat prosperous life, as spoken by our president. So, guys, now we've got a girl who grew up in society that's better than her grandmothers, better than her parents, but they speak of her successes, but what about her failures? She still faced all sorts of prejudice. She was still poor, lived on grants. Do you think Tintswalo actually lived a successful life?
The question is she real? Is she a real person?
No, she's not.
Because I went like back to like after the SONA speech, I was like, okay, let me go check up on who she is. And I didn't find much. Obviously the speech came about, and then like a couple of days ago I went back again and they did like an interview, Newsroom Africa. This lady, I forgot her name starts with Z though. She went around Soweto, they looked for this Tintswalo, and they found one. She's 30, and yeah, she didn't have all the things that Cyril Ramaphosa was mentioning.
Does that speak to her failures or the failures of the government, or maybe her perseverance that she didn't have all these things that they mentioned?
All the things that they're mentioning, I don't think anyone got them, even the kids who were born in 1994. Like, I feel like any black person after 1994, the NT didn't give everyone everything like he said, because he could have said that she did get NSFAS, she did get an RDP housing, but don't mention the other things, because now it seems that you guys were 100% consistent with everything with that specific person, which makes us question with us who are not getting the same thing that she's getting, the consistency of my social grant coming in every month. Who am I then? What was special about her, you know? Like, she got a consistency, you know? Yeah, and the consistent NSFAS.
What do you think, Dan?
Well, first of all, I'm saying like the ANC president Cyril Ramaphosa is running away from accountability. First of all, it's just a one person.
Yeah.
Out of all this youth, just a one person who's in like glow lights, who's special, who got things that we haven't seen in this government for 30 years. We have NSFAS that frustrates us all the times. Like all the time, when you speak of NSFAS, I always say, I rather chose free education. I don't want NSFAS. Do you know why I don't want NSFAS? Because NSFAS is not meal allowance, it's not book allowance that we enjoy. You see, NSFAS is the funding that we deserve. But do you guess this funding? We have to fight each and every year. There are students who will be suspended. There wasn't going to have. We were not going to have the face must fall. Yes. If it wasn't for NSFAS, if it was for free education. So I feel like on that SONA, the president just made up his own fairy tale and say, hey, I'm going to do this fairy tale over South Africans. It's not even the first time like the president is doing this.
So you're saying
Running,
this is glorifying the
yeah,
ANC?
yeah. We are going to elections 2024, and soon May. And it's just glorifying ANC, running away from accountability. It doesn't want to account as always.
I feel like it's not just Cyril, it's the whole of ANC. I hate it when people are like, Jacob Zuma, ANC was better than Cyril. No, my dear. The whole of ANC is just a problem. Whether they came in, whether they came out, bonk, they're a problem. Because they contribute to this mess that's happening in South Africa.
So guys, regarding the different representation of Tintswalo, do you think there's any level of people in this story of resilience?
There's just a high level of hypocrisy. Yeah, when it comes to, because it's like I just want to use one word. It's like we are guilt trapped. Yeah, well, it's a guilt trapping question that we must understand that ANC is working. The government, I don't want to call it maybe with a name. Let me say the government of ANC, because they're the ones who are leading government.
Yeah.
They want us to be trapped in guilty that they are doing something, they are working in something. But we're going to go back to just recent statement of the president from the last SONA. They promised people 1 million jobs. Where are those jobs?
No, to be simple.
Yeah, simple. So means that we are just caught on something. We are just made to be thinking that
You're convinced.
just ANC is working, the government is working.
You know, you're right when you say they're guilt tripping us, because when you think about it, the ANC in 1994, they were the ones that, okay, before 1994 and 1994, during the apartheid era, they were fought for the black people, you know. I feel like they're carrying that agenda till now, and it's like, it's 30 years after, bro. Move on. There should be another goal, another mission, and another statement. This apartheid thing, I say, yes, there is a bit of like racism that we're dealing with, but again, I feel like they're no longer concentrating on that racism thing, you know? Yeah. They're now on the giving jobs to black people. And I feel like they, like, you know, when someone tells you, like, I did something for you 30 years ago, so you're going to stick with us, you know? Yeah. Like, I feel like they're telling us that. And because young people are not really exposed to the reality and the truth of this political party, they just go with the flow.
I will say a nation without history is a nation without a soul. So on your point, I think at the beginning of the show I said history is a study of change and development in a society over time and space. So I think what you touched on is that we need to revisit our history, but let's not take our history with us. Let's develop new things. Let's have new ideas. Let's bring change.
Thank you for being on our platform. Thank you for engaging us on some critical topics concerning the youth and concerning Tintswalo mentioned by our President Cyril Ramaphosa. This has been the South African Conversation by DUT Journalism. Thank you for tuning in.